Excuse me. So if there's a little bit at the beginning, I was having some problems with my camera and I had to get a different one. So I just want to make a quick tutorial going into the annotated bibliography. But before I go into the annotated bibliography, I have to talk about the essays that the annotated bibliography supports. So we are going to get into after the annotated bibliography, we're going to write what is called an advertisement argument. So here's the prompt for the advertisement argument. And I haven't uploaded this to Brightspace just yet. It's because I have to finish the rubric and how I grade it. So I'd like for you to be able to see that with the prompt. And I'll have that done this weekend. So you'll be able to see the prompt by Monday. But the annotated bibliography, the one before this, is where we find our sources for our essays. So in the annotated bibliography, we're going to find the sources for this essay. And for the next essay, the process essay, for the next essay, for the process essay. So this first essay after the annotated bibliography asks us to take a music video and a excuse me, and a Super Bowl commercial and talk about what they have in common. It's to compare and contrast what do music videos and commercials have in common, because commercials can be manipulative, whereas music videos help us to express who we are and discover a little bit more about our identity. But see, commercials try to do that, and they try to make us feel like they're helping us find our identity, but they're really mostly just wanting us to buy a product most of the time, not all of them. And so we're going to delve into that. So that's why I just wanted to open up with the advertisement argument first, because during the annotated bibliography, when the Super Bowl rolls around, we are going to find sources for it and summarize those sources, find the target audience for those sources, and make sure that we fully understand our sources before we go to write them in an essay. That is the point of the annotated bibliography, is to discover our sources, fully understand our sources before we use our sources. So it's really important, again, that we understand our sources before we go to use them. All right. So, and that's what this is. Again, we're just comparing we're comparing a commercial to a music video to talk about how we are what's in common between the two of them. Our identity is what's in common between commercials. This is the only picture of a Super Bowl commercial that I could find. It looks like Ronald McDonald. I'm not sure, but as soon as the Super Bowl gets a little bit closer, we'll have some better pictures and whatnot. But I do have the prompt for that ready to go as soon as I finish up. I had to make the grading rubric a little bit better. So as soon as I finish that rubric, I'll have that there. So let's look at the annotated bibliography then. And then we'll look at this next week. So here's the prompt for the annotated bibliography. And the beginning of it just talks about inclusive learning, right? Just that inclusive learning environments are one in which students feel that their contributions and perspectives are equally valued and respected. An environment where all students, regardless of their social identities, backgrounds, or beliefs, feel respected and valued, and one that forms a strong foundation for learning. So this is really what I strive for in my class. That's why you and your identity are the center of all the topics that we discuss in class. All right. So we go down here to say, let's see. So that's just a little bit more about academic identity. This is like the Cornell University, and then this is mine. I talk about academic identity. It's kind of the same thing. All right. So we first created memoirs to hold our memories, right? Or wrote that memoir entry, talked about the gift of voice, that we're trying to strive for more than just writing a quick story, that we want to accomplish far more than that. We want to turn our fears into trust. We want to, all those bullet points of what y'all came up with. Now, as we expand this capacity, students build new knowledge on the old knowledge of their memories by juxtaposing their interactive memoirs with academic resources and essays. So now we're going to take our memories and we're going to say, okay, where do commercials have in common with our memories? What do music videos have in common with our memories? And the annotated bibliography, we're finding the sources to do that. So in this annotated bibliography, students are discovering and summarizing sources for their upcoming assignments, the advertisement argument, the process essay, and the presentation, right? My heater keeps going off and on a little too much. I need it to stay on. The heat is not working in this building very well. let's see, to discover and fully summarize. So you're going to have these 5-question analysis quizzes just before you go to write. I'm going to upload that here in just a moment. It's questions such as who is the target audience, what is the emotion, and then like an MLA question. Here's the difference between I don't want to get into that too much because I'm going to talk about a blog and a podcast. But, the difference between how to cite those also. So there's going to be like 5 questions because we're going to back up even more to make sure you fully understand your source before you use it. So the 5-question analysis quiz is just to help you understand these sources, the target audience of the sources, the emotion of the sources, and things like that. Right. So here's what's going into your annotated bibliography. So first of all, you just have an academic source over a hobby or an interest. And that's what this next week will do. So that's what's starting on Monday. Let's see, what's Monday, the 27th? So Monday, January 27th, we're going to go into looking for an academic source about a hobby or an interest. That's like, why is a hobby like hiking or biking or any kind of exercising? Why is that important? Why is it important? Whatever your hobby is, whether it's canning, or I'm getting into canning and whatnot, but whether it's canning, why is having a hobby important? We're going to hunt down an academic source over that. That's just for you to find out about yourself. And then we're going to get into as soon as the Super Bowl rolls, as soon as the Super Bowl rolls around, which is the week after that. I need to go to February. There we go. February 10th. So we have another week before your hobby or interest. So that's why we're going to get into a how-to blog or podcast. We're going to go ahead and look out for the last essay first because we need to get to the Super Bowl. And it's not going to be here until February 10th. So I'm just kind of buying us some time by going ahead and skipping to the process essay. I'll show you what I mean here in a minute. And then we're going to find some sources. These are the sources over the academic argument essay, and here's a source over the process essay. So we're going to find sources for these essays. Each of them have an analysis quiz. They're only worth 10 points because it's just, again, who is the target audience? What's the main idea? To make sure we're fully understanding our sources before we use them. And this is there's your proposal. That's not until the very last. Here's what an annotated bibliography looks like. It looks like the works cited, right? That you will have in the quiz. So you'll already have that. And then a brief explanation of that source. The next works cited, these are in alphabetical order. The next works cited and a brief explanation, the next works cited. So this will be a hobby or interest if that's what goes first. Here will be a works cited for your commercial. Here will be a works cited for your music video. Here will be a works cited for there's an academic source that goes along with the advertisement argument. There's a works cited for that. So these are all the citations where you just cite it like it looks like on your works cited page and you explain it. And then we'll go back and write a proposal. I don't want to cover the proposal in this video because it'll be kind of longer on its own. The proposal is at the very end. You're more than welcome to look at it. It's right here, but it's where you start talking about yourself. So you have this proposal paragraph about you and then all the sources that you're going to use to talk about you a little bit deeper. All right, so let's go to Brightspace. Make sure that our Brightspace, it should be open. Let me go to our Brightspace. I'm going to view as a student if it's not. Okay, good. I'm going to go ahead and view as a student real quick, and then I'll share with our Brightspace. All right, let me share this screen. So here's our Brightspace. We go to content. I'll get to those here in just a second. You don't have to do any of these. These are if you have bags and whatnot at home that you want to have fun. All right. So here's our Brightspace. Here's block 2, annotated bibliography. The annotated bibliography, we have sources. And anyway, so for week 3, January 27th through the 31st, we want to watch the video that I'm making right now. We want to do our analysis quiz for our blog or podcast. We want to read the prompt that I'll be uploading here in just a moment if it's not yet. And then we want to do that first analysis quiz. And that's all that you have to do. And I was telling a student who came by my office a couple days ago, if it seems a little overwhelming, let's go 1 week at a time. right? Don't try to digest 4 weeks at once and say, okay, I don't understand what we're going to be doing in week 5 on week 2, so I'm going to give up or I'm going to get overwhelmed. Let's go 1 week at a time, please. That's going to help you tremendously. 1 week at a time. So for this first week of the annotated bibliography, let's just find ourselves a blog or a podcast, cite it correctly, do our analysis quiz over that, and just make sure it's cited correctly and that you understand it, right? Cited correctly and you understand it. It's about you. It's not just a good source. It's one that you understand. And then whenever we get into the next week, February 3rd through 7th, right? Let's find that hobby or interest. So here's one. Here is a analysis quiz. Oh, I'm sorry. I switched the two. I apologize for that. The analysis quiz is where you find that blog or podcast, like how to can jalapeno jelly, which is what my mom and I made. Right. I'm sorry. I apologize. So that'll be your first analysis quiz, is like the actual blog or podcast. And then the second one will be the academic source over a hobby or interest. So I apologize for that. But the first week is where you're finding that hobby or that blog or podcast that you like to do. There is a discussion. I forgot to put that. I'll make sure I fix that. There will be a discussion board over credibility. And no, that discussion board is with, we don't have a discussion board with, let me pause this real quick. We don't have a discussion board with the annotated bibliography, I don't believe. Give me a moment. Let me make sure that we don't have a discussion board. Where do I pause? Okay, I was correct. We do not have a discussion board with the annotated bibliography. So we leave those for the actual essays. All right. So again, the very first source that we find, I just want you to take a week to understand the annotated bibliography, watch the video, hunt down a blog or podcast, make sure that you cited it correctly, because it's different than it's different than just a regular YouTube video. You have to have more information there. I would love for you to find a podcast on YouTube. That would help you out more. I would help you out far more, or maybe TikTok, because you have to put more information than just a video, right? And then we're going to get to next week. You're going to find that academic source over having a hobby or interest, right? That why is having a hobby or interest important? You're going to have to find that source on your own. We're going to have a research tutorial video that breaks down how to research, how to find academic sources, that .gov, .org, whatnot, right? And then you do that next analysis quiz over your hobby or interest, right? And then we get into the Super Bowl week, and that is where you do 3 analysis quizzes. One is like, who is the target audience of the commercial? What's the feeling of the commercial? It should take you like 10 minutes each analysis quiz for you to really understand it. And then we'll start working on our writing our citations. All right. Summarize and citations of all 5 sources. So that's week 6. Summarize and cite. We're going to start putting it together in week 6. So, all right. Let me know if you have any questions, but that's the annotated bibliography. Definitely go 1 week at a time. You don't want to try to jump into what is this? Find all sources at once. You're welcome to, but you probably won't do very well, because I'll be looking for specific things. So again, this coming up next week, find a podcast, a blog, a YouTube video. I'll make another video that talks about how to hunt down that blog or podcast. All right, so let me know. That's the annotated bibliography. That's what we're going to be getting into for 4 weeks. That's what I was telling my students. We're not doing this for a week or a day. We're doing this for 4 weeks, right? We're going to be working on the annotated bibliography for, is it 4 weeks or 5? 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. So we're going to be working on the annotated bibliography together as a class for 4 weeks.